welcome to this deep dive. We're going to unlock the secrets to something called feel-good productivity.
Ooh, I like the sound of that already.
Right. It's a new approach to getting things done, but without burning yourself out.
Avoiding that burnout, that's key.
Absolutely. And our guide for this is Ali Abdaal's book, Feel-Good Productivity.
I've heard good things about that one.
Yeah. And he's a doctor turned YouTuber, so he kind of knows a thing or two about achieving goals and still enjoying life.
That's a good combo for sure.
Totally. And just to be clear, we're not just summarizing the book here.
Right.
We want to pull out those really actionable insights that you can use to build your own personal productivity toolkit, you know?
Love it.
And oh, get this, we're going to be exploring the link between hormones and playfulness.
Really?
Yeah, and how that all ties into getting things done.
I am intrigued already.
It's fascinating stuff.
So this feel-good productivity, it's all about understanding that feeling good isn't the result of success. It's the starting point. It's the foundation.
I love that. It's like working smarter, not just harder. Right?
Exactly. Abdaal mixes like science and philosophy to explain why this works, you know? So it's not just some fluffy self-help thing.
Well, yeah, it's got to have substance.
Absolutely.
But why is it that so many of us struggle with productivity in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
You know, why is it such a challenge?
Well, Abdaal identifies 3 major forces that sabotage our efforts: low energy, procrastination, and burnout. Those are the big ones.
Oh, yeah, those are familiar.
Right. And he says instead of trying to power through them, we need to tackle the root causes.
I like that, getting to the source of the problem.
Exactly.
Have you ever noticed how much easier it is to focus when you're feeling really energized?
Oh, for sure.
Abdaal calls those things that boost our energy energizers. There are 3 main ones: play, power, and people.
Okay, I'm listening.
But wait, he's not saying we should just, like, play video games all day, right?
Haha, no, not exactly. When he talks about play, he means bringing a sense of fun and lightness to our tasks, you know? Research actually shows that when we enjoy what we're doing, our brains release dopamine, and that boosts motivation and focus.
Interesting.
It's like gamifying your to-do list. Maybe you could reward yourself with, I don't know, a small treat after completing a challenging task.
Oh, I like that.
Or find a way to make a boring task more fun, like listening to some upbeat music while you work.
That's a good idea.
So think about it. What are some tedious tasks you have to do that you could try this with?
That's a great question.
Yeah,
I think we could all benefit from thinking about that.
definitely.
This whole play energizer is making me realize how seriously I take work sometimes.
It's easy to get caught up in that.
It really is.
Good.
Okay, so what about this power thing?
So this isn't about controlling other people or anything like that. It's
Really?
about feeling in control of your own life, even when things are tough, you know? Finding ways to make choices and take action no matter how small, that can create a sense of empowerment.
I like that.
For example, let's say you have a tight deadline, something you can't control, right? But you can control how you break down the project, maybe create a realistic schedule.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's about finding those areas where you do have agency.
That reminds me of when I felt completely stuck in my old job.
Uh-huh.
I felt like I had zero control over anything, you know? But then I started taking short walks outside during my lunch break, and honestly, it really helped me feel more energized and in control of my day.
That's awesome.
It was such a small change, but it made a big difference.
I bet.
So I'm curious, what's one area in your work where you feel you could have more control?
That's a good question.
What's like a small choice you could make to feel more empowered there?
I'll have to think about that.
Yeah, it's worth considering. And then, of course, there's the people energizer.
Right.
It reminds us that our social connections have a huge impact on our well-being and productivity.
You are who you hang out with, as they say.
Exactly. We've all heard that saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
So true.
But Abdaal takes it a step further. He explains that certain people energize us, while others totally drain us, you know.
Yeah, I can see that.
So think about the people you spend the most time with.
Okay.
Are they supportive and uplifting? Or do they leave you feeling exhausted?
Interesting question.
It's a big one. Surrounding yourself with the right people can make a world of difference. I've definitely experienced both types in my life.
Me too.
It's amazing how much of an impact it has.
It really is.
Okay, so we've got some tools in our productivity toolkit already, but there's more.
Let's hear it.
Abdaal gives us some mini experiments that we can try to boost our energy right away.
I love a good experiment.
Me too. And one of them is finding the fun in tedious tasks.
That sounds tricky.
It does, right?
Yeah.
But even something like, I don't know, data entry can become more enjoyable if you find a playful way to approach it.
Okay, yeah.
You could challenge yourself to see how many entries you can complete in a set time,
Right.
or listen to an audiobook while you work.
I could see that working.
There are ways to make it less painful.
I'm all ears.
And then what about those tasks that feel totally overwhelming?
Ugh, yeah, those are the worst.
Abdaal has a mini experiment for that too. It's called the expert mindset.
The expert mindset, huh?
Yeah, the idea is you approach a daunting task as if you were the world's leading expert on the subject.
Okay, I like that.
It might sound a bit silly,
A little.
but it can help you overcome that initial fear.
Makes sense.
And then lastly, what if you're feeling isolated or stuck?
Happens to the best of us.
For real.
Yeah.
Abdaal suggests reaching out to someone for help or advice.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right. It can be so powerful to break out of a rut and connect with others. Sometimes just having someone to bounce ideas off of can make all the difference.
Absolutely. Two heads are better than one and all that.
Totally. So we've got some good stuff in our productivity toolkit already.
We're off to a good start.
But what happens when we hit those inevitable roadblocks and start to procrastinate? That's what we'll dive into next.
Okay, so we talked about those energizers, play, power, and people. Those are key for boosting our productivity. But even with all the energy in the world, sometimes you just can't seem to get started on a task.
Procrastination, right? The universal struggle.
It's the worst. It gets me every time.
But Abdaal has this really interesting perspective on it, you know?
Yeah.
He offers an alternative to that whole discipline versus motivation thing.
Oh, really? Tell me more.
It's called unblocking.
Unblocking. Okay, I like the sound of that. What does that even involve?
So it's kind of like being a productivity detective, you know?
A detective. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Abdaal says you have to figure out what's really stopping you, those roadblocks.
Makes sense.
He calls them blockers. And the most common ones are confusion, fear, and inertia.
I can see those popping up for sure.
Right. So it's not just about forcing yourself to work or waiting for inspiration. It's about getting to the root of why you're procrastinating. I think I needed to hear that. So how do we tackle these blockers?
Well, each one has a specific antidote. Let's start with confusion. When you're not sure what to do or how to do it, it's natural to feel overwhelmed and put things off.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well. Staring at a to-do list a mile long and feeling totally paralyzed.
Been there. The solution is clarity. Abdaal emphasizes planning and breaking down tasks into smaller steps.
Right. Smaller chunks.
Exactly. It makes the whole thing feel less daunting and gives you a clear path forward.
That makes so much sense. Like, how do you eat an elephant?
Yeah, exactly.
One bite at a time. Okay, that's confusion. What about when it's fear holding us back?
Abdaal says, face it head on, acknowledge it, name it. Sometimes that alone can take away its power.
Oh, interesting. I can see that.
It's like shining a light on a monster in the closet. Suddenly it's not so scary.
I love that analogy.
Right. And then there's inertia, that feeling of being stuck, not knowing where to start.
Inertia is my arch nemesis.
I feel you. The remedy for that is action. Any action.
Really, just do something, anything.
Pretty much. Take that first step, no matter how small, and it breaks the cycle of inaction.
I guess that makes sense. Getting started is often the hardest part.
Totally. It creates momentum. So we've got energizers to boost our motivation and unblockers to deal with procrastination. Our productivity toolkit is looking pretty good.
It is. But there's one more enemy we have to face. Burnout. Abdaal has some really insightful things to say about this, doesn't he?
He does, and this is where his insights into the different types of burnout become super important. You know what I think the biggest takeaway from Abdaal's book is?
What's that?
It's that true productivity. It's not about pushing yourself to the limit. It's about creating a sustainable system that really prioritizes, your well-being.
Okay, I like that.
It's like if you're building a house, you need a strong foundation before you can even start thinking about the walls and the roof, right?
That makes sense.
And in this case, feeling good, that's the foundation.
I love that analogy.
Feeling good leads to achieving more of what truly matters.
I couldn't agree more. It's about finding that balance where you can be productive and feel good at the same time.
Exactly.
And what I really appreciate about Abdaal's approach is it's not just him telling us what to do.
Right.
He explains why it works.
Yeah.
Like he brings in the science, the research.
It's not just random advice.
Exactly. And then he gives us that practical advice so we can create our own system.
And that's what makes this deep dive so valuable.
Exactly.
It's not just a book summary. It's like we're building a productivity toolkit together.
A toolkit filled with those energizers and unblockers and sustainers.
All the good stuff.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So what stands out to you as the most useful tool in this toolkit?
That's tough.
There are so many good ones.
I think for me, it's got to be the mini experiments.
Oh, yeah, those are great.
Abdaal really encourages us to try different things, see what sticks.
It's about figuring out what works for you.
Exactly. No one-size-fits-all solution.
So true.
Yeah.
What tool are you most excited to try?
I'm curious to hear yours first.
Okay, well, I'm honestly excited about all of them. I'm a
Awesome.
big fan of that pre-mortem exercise for tackling fear and the expert mindset for confidence.
Those are good ones.
And I can't wait to try incorporating more play into my work,
Make it fun.
Yeah. But I think it's important to remember, this deep dive is just the start.
The beginning of the journey.
Exactly. It's like a launch pad. You now have the knowledge and tools to experiment and create your own version of feel-good productivity.
So go out there and try things out.
Yes. Adapt it to your life. See what works best for you.
And remember, there's no right or wrong way to do it.
That's so freeing.
It's about finding what makes you feel good and helps you reach your goals.
And it's a journey, not a destination.
So true.
There will be days when you're super productive and days when you struggle. And that's okay.
It's all part of the process.
It is. But the key is to keep learning, keep growing, and keep finding ways to, feel good while you're chasing those goals.
Well said.
Okay, before we wrap things up, I want to leave everyone with a thought-provoking question.
Okay, hit me.
Could it be that, focusing on feeling good actually unlocks more creativity and helps us find innovative solutions?
That's an interesting question.
It's something I've been thinking about a lot lately.
I mean, it makes sense. When we're feeling good, we're more open to new possibilities, right?
Yeah. We're less afraid to take risks.
And we see the world with more curiosity.
Exactly. So as you go about your day, pay attention to how you're feeling.
Okay.
Notice how your energy, your mood, all that affects your ability to, think creatively and solve problems.
Advice.
And prioritize those things that make you feel alive.
Absolutely.
You never know what amazing things you might discover when you approach life with a sense of, possibility and well-being.
Until next time, stay curious, stay productive, and stay well.